Two famous old clubs, Spurs in their traditional white shirts and blue shorts attacking the goal away to the right hand side. Arsenal in red and white of course, playing from right to left. And the players and referee take a knee, the latest symbol of the fight against racism. So here we go then, we are underway in the first North London derby at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. No fans in the stands, but across North London and around the world, people gripped by radio and TV broadcasts. We expect passion and drama, and a shot straight away from the edge of the area from Lucas Moura, and an early test from Emiliano Martinez, who had to move sharply to his left to make the save.
Yeah, it was a quick start from Spurs. David Luiz dwelling on the ball, gets caught by Harry Kane. Lucas Moura, one touch to set himself, fires it 30 yards out with his right foot, bending away from Martinez, but good hands from the Argentinian in goal for Arsenal today. He's been excellent since he's come in for Leno.
Barely 20 seconds on the watch and that shot coming in. And in stark contrast to the game on Thursday in Bournemouth, Tottenham produced some pretty bleak attacking numbers in that goalless draw. Didn't manage a single shot on target against a team that had lost 5 league games in a row and had conceded 14 goals in the process. Tottenham, the first Premier League team in 2020 to draw a blank against the Cherries. And Chris, it was a pretty poor display, and it gave the critics of Jose Mourinho some ammunition.
Yeah, the players looked disinterested. They looked like they were on their holidays. They looked like they didn't want to play for Jose Mourinho. It was as poor a performance as I've seen from a Spurs side, certainly in the last 3 or 4 seasons. And it certainly asks questions of whether these players are motivated to play for Jose Mourinho.
Just a point between these two old rivals. Here is Harry Kane moving in on his right foot, and the shot is charged down on the edge of the box by Arsenal. Clearance was not the best from Bellerin. Davis motoring onto it down the left-hand side, works it infield to Lucas Moura. It's a really good start this from Spurs. Moura again, left corner of the penalty area. Jinks away from the challenge of Lacazette and curls it towards the right-hand side, headed away by Kieran Tierney, who's been ever so impressive at left wing-back for Arsenal in recent games. It's taken him a while to settle since his move from Celtic. Mikel Arteta, his manager, admitted it was a new club, a new country. It was always going to take a while for him to hit top gear, and he's had a lot of injury problems, Chris, that have kind of stopped him hitting top gear.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, he was sensational at Celtic, wasn't he? And you thought he was going to come in and really take the Premier League by storm, but the injuries have just slowed down his progress, and we're only now really starting to see what he's about, and he looks a very good acquisition for Arsenal. 3rd
minute of play in the North London derby. Tottenham 0, Arsenal 0. And the ball given away by Arsenal on the edge of their own area to Heung-min Son. His cross is only half cleared, and Arsenal have made a rather sleepy start here. But here is Nicolas Pepe, brought in for the only change to the Arsenal team from the one that drew 1-1 against Leicester in midweek. Bukayo Saka, who's been so good, the teenager, surprisingly dropped to the bench. It's with Kolasinac on the left-hand side, back to David Luiz, who's recently agreed a new contract with the Gunners, which raised a few eyebrows. Long ball from Mustafi towards the left corner of the Tottenham area. Aurier allows the ball to bounce, and then his header back to Hugo Lloris was a little bit short, but Lloris was able to claim it.
Yeah, it was a hopeful ball, really, from Mustafi, and it looked really as though maybe even Hugo Lloris could have come and claimed it in the first place, but Serge Aurier almost turned it into a good pass.
These teams do have incredibly similar records. Arsenal just a point better off, but they've scored 2 fewer goals than Spurs, also conceded just 2 fewer. But Arsenal are on decent form. Their results in 2020 show they are making progress. They've won 6 of the last 9 in the Premier League. They've lost just 2 of their last 14. It's with David Luiz on the edge of the penalty area.
I think what would probably surprise most people is that their record against Spurs at home it is really poor. Arsenal, they really have struggled to pick up any results, whether that's been at White Hart Lane, at Wembley, or indeed maybe this is the first time today that they maybe can turn it round, but only won 1 of the last 11 home games at Tottenham.
Ball is with Alderweireld, back in the team in the last couple of games. He was frozen out to some extent immediately after the restart. Here is Lucas Moura.
I think he's vital, Alderweireld. His delivery from the back, he can hit 60, 70-yard passes and start attacks from the back four. He's very good in possession, and one of Tottenham's main passers, along with Harry Winks in central midfield, who's only just recently come back into the side as well.
Ball is played over halfway, and a rather loose touch there from Moussa Sissoko, who is one of the first names on the team sheet these days. He said in his head he always knew that he could play at this level. He knew his quality. So that's life. No one will just give you things easily. You have to work hard. And he has transformed things at Tottenham, Chris, and that is something of a surprise when you see the form that he was showing when he first got there.
He certainly turned it around, hasn't he, in the fans' eyes? I mean, he was very much under pressure when he first came from Newcastle. Kept on making mistakes that tended to cost games or just silly little things, but he really has turned it round. His attitude was never in question, and his energy levels are superb in midfield. He gets about the pitch, he can run from box to box, and he's added a couple of goals as well.
Bit of space here for Bellerin, plays it infield to Granit Xhaka. He's another one who's transformed his narrative at his club, stripped of the captaincy under Unai Emery, but he has been a regular in the first team under Mikel Arteta. Very much one of the building blocks in midfield, playing well alongside Dani Ceballos, and those two have been paired again today. 6 minutes gone, Tottenham 0, Arsenal 0 here on Premier League Live. Towering header from Mustafi. That drops for Davis. Little ball to halfway, and Heung-min Son finds Harry Winks. Lovely drop of the shoulder to make space. And now Aurier, he'll take on Tierney. He's got Sissoko ahead of him, and he finds Moussa Sissoko. Early cross, and that's just plucked out of the air by Emi Martinez, who is deputising for the injured Bernd Leno. And he's a player that's been at Arsenal for a long, long time now, a decade with the Gunners, had 6 different loans. Finally, his chance to shine has arrived in the Arsenal first team, and he has grabbed it gleefully so far.
Yeah, he's not looked out of place, has he? You could argue that his form's been as good as Leno, if not better.
It's with Mustafi just shy of halfway, rolls it out to Bellerin, tight to the right touchline. Here is Dani Ceballos, the Spanish midfielder. Now Xhaka into the feet of Lacazette. He's been quiet so far. Arsenal have been quiet in attack so far, but here is Xhaka inside left channel, turns away from Sissoko, rolls it back into the centre circle for David Luiz, and now Mustafi getting forward from the back. Plays it to Bellerin. This is all midway inside the Tottenham half at the moment. Ceballos curls it out to the left-hand side. Here's Tierney in space. Tierney's cross is a good one, and excellent defending by Alderweireld against Lacazette at the near post, and it's smuggled behind.
Yeah, good patient build-up from Arsenal. Ceballos releases Kieran Tierney on the left-hand side. Serge Aurier can't cut it out. Delicious cross, bending away from Hugo Lloris towards the near post, but Toby Alderweireld tracked the run of Alexander Lacazette all the way across the box and heads it behind for a corner.
Excellent from the Belgian, who signed a new long-term contract in December. And that was a bit of a turnaround, because for a long time it looked as though he would leave the club. So Ceballos to take this corner. Arsenal have scored 9 Premier League goals from corners this season. Ceballos delivers, it's towards the near post, it's headed up but not really away, and it took a flick off Mustafi and goes behind for the goal kick.
Ball into that near post area again, and Mustafi just gets there ahead of the Spurs defenders but gets too much on it. It's looking just to give it a little flick on at the near post.
Is that a bit of a concern, Chris, because you've got big Mustafi, who's decent in the air at the near post, and you've got Lucas Moura, who's significantly shorter, marking him? That seemed like an error from Spurs.
It certainly looked as though that was an area that maybe Arsenal have targeted. Certainly Mikel Arteta fired that cross into the near post there, knowing that Lucas Moura was going to be in there.
9 minutes gone here on Premier League Live. It is Tottenham 0, Arsenal 0. No fans in these cavernous stands at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Jose Mourinho did say that he was sad that there are no fans here today. He said we all feel sorry about that. He said I think even Arsenal would want to have that special atmosphere, even though it's an advantage for us. He said all managers think it's sad, but we still have to compete. Ball just runs away from Nicola Pepe. That's a loose touch from him, and here is Lucas Moura scurrying down the left-hand side, cuts in field onto his right foot, ball in towards Harry Kane, and he tried to lift it over the goalkeeper, who made a very good save, just patted the ball down and was able to grab it at the second attempt. First sight of goal for Harry Kane, and he's denied by Emiliano Martinez.
It's a brilliant save from Martinez, isn't it? Beautiful ball over the top of David Luiz's head, released Harry Kane, ball bounced up beautifully just to lob it over Martinez, and Harry Kane must have thought he scored, but Martinez just reached up with his two gloves and plucked it out of the air and saved it. And it's a brilliant save for Arsenal, but far too easy for Harry Kane to get in there.
Big stretch from the Argentinian, and a vital one in the opening exchanges. It's pumped long by Mustafi, and that's too long. Well, if Harry Kane had scored, it would have been his 200th club goal, and if he does score this afternoon, he'll have scored more goals in North London derbies than any other player, 11 in all, eclipsing Emmanuel Adebayor and Bobby Smith, and he is Spurs' main man. And even though he was out with that injury, Chris, he still looks razor sharp now, doesn't he?
He looks better. He's got better and better as the games have gone on. He hasn't had too much service in the last couple of games, actually, Harry Kane, and you just feel that maybe if he'd had a little bit more service in the Bournemouth and Everton games, he may well have taken that chance.
Has a remarkable record in this fixture, and he scored in the last 5 home editions for Spurs in the North London derby. 19 goals in all competitions. He got 10 for England across the season, and he has scored against all 29 teams he's faced in his Premier League career.
That goal at Sheffield United completed that, I think, I remember rightly.
Indeed, that was pretty much the only bright spot of what was a pretty miserable evening for Spurs at Bramall Lane, on the wrong end of a VAR controversy. Not alone in that. Here is Bellerin just inside the Spurs half, a little shuffle to take him away from Lucas Moura, and now they work it from right to left, and Tierney down the near touchline from Arsenal's point of view, looking for Aubameyang, and it runs away from him for a goal kick. They haven't got their rhythm and they haven't got their range so far, Arsenal.
I think that they're struggling a little bit, Arsenal, because Tottenham are defending deep, so there's no space to release the pace of Aubameyang in behind, which Arsenal love to do, and use that open grass to take advantage of Aubameyang's pace. And what Tottenham are doing is they're sitting a little bit deeper and making Arsenal play in front of them and having to play through them, and they're finding it difficult at the moment, Arsenal.
Ball is with Ceballos, who found it very difficult to break into the first team at Real Madrid. Nice little move from Bellerin down the right-hand side, taking on Winks, and he's away from Winks, and he cuts it back, and Aubameyang made a mess of it. Tierney with the shot, and that's gone well wide, but Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang with a clear sight of goal, and he totally missed the ball.
It's a brilliant bit of play down the right-hand side from Hector Bellerin. Goes past Ben Davies, then you think Winks has got him, but he goes past Winks, outstrengths him, cuts it back towards the penalty spot where Aubameyang is unmarked on his right foot, and he completely misses his kick, gets hardly anything on it. It comes to Tierney at the back post with the angle against him, and he fires it back across goal. But what a chance for Aubameyang. You'd expect him to take it.
Of all the people to make a mess of an opportunity like that, Aubameyang's record against Spurs, 7 goals in 9 appearances against them. That includes his time with Borussia Dortmund. He's got 20 Premier League goals this season, but he took his eye off that one at the critical moment, and with 13 minutes gone in the North London derby, it remains Tottenham 0, Arsenal 0 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Long ball which Mustafi makes a bit of a mess of. Kane nods it down, he was looking for Son, and that's brilliant defending from David Luiz. He had to strain every sinew to get that ball away at full stretch. Moura forward towards Kane, lets it drop onto his right foot, tries to get the cross in. It's a bit too strong though, and that will go all the way through the penalty area, and it will fall to Nicola Pepe in the right back zone of Arsenal. Clipped forward by Bellerin, who's had a very good start to the game. Ceballos has the ball taken off his toe, and Spurs have won it back. Here is Davis into the feet of Son. Son lays it off to Lo Celso.
Spurs just look a little bit sharper than Arsenal at the moment, getting to the ball quicker, moving it quicker, playing with a lovely tempo at the moment, Tottenham.
Here is Harry Winks, very much the midfield regulator, sets the tempo for Spurs, brings balance according to Jose Mourinho. Here is Xhaka though. Arsenal have won the ball from Spurs, and Xhaka with room to move into, and he's found Aubameyang. Back to Xhaka. Xhaka thought about the shot, trying to work it onto his favoured left foot. Now Tierney, he runs straight into the challenge of Sissoko, and that's really good midfield play from Sissoko. He shut that door, and then he almost leant against the door from the other side just to make sure he couldn't beat it down. Here is Ceballos, though, for Arsenal, who after a sticky start have grown into the game. Ball on the right-hand side in the sunshine with Bellerin, and he manages to win the throw off Lucas Moura. And it's been a really intriguing start to the game. And Chris, as a former Spurs player, just tell us how much this game means to people.
It means everything. It really does. This is the game that you look for when the fixtures come out. And the rivalry is something that you see you go to the same restaurants as these Arsenal players. You see them around London, and you want to be the one. You want to be on the team that wins. You have to be on the team that wins.
Ceballos with a cross from the right-hand side. That's too close to Hugo Lloris. Ceballos said that when he could see that even Toni Kroos and Luka Modric were out injured for Real Madrid, Zinedine Zidane would change his system so that he could pick other players, and that's when he realised he'd have to move on.
I thought against Leicester it was the best I've seen Dani Ceballos play. I thought he was everywhere. His energy levels was superb. He got about the pitch. He made things happen, and that's what you want now today as well from Dani Ceballos. Get a little bit of consistency at that sort of level.
Xhaka's won it on the edge of the area. Lacazette with the shot,
what a goal.
And it's an absolute stunner. The first goal in a North London derby in this stadium is an Arsenal goal. And Alex Lacazette has fired into the top corner, and Arsenal draw first blood. 1-0 they lead.
This is an absolute rocket. It's a poor defensive header from Serge Aurier, and Sissoko probably could have done a little bit better, but big first touch from Aurier, loses out to a challenge to Xhaka. It falls to Lacazette. He takes a touch out of his feet, 25 yards from goal on his right foot, and he just unleashes an absolutely unstoppable shot into the top right-hand corner of Hugo Lloris's goal. This is in the postage stamp. Hugo Lloris can get absolutely nowhere near this, beaten purely by the power of this shot from Alexander Lacazette.
He's hit it so very well. He went on a run of 16 Premier League away games without a goal. Then he scored at Wolves in the 2-0 win, and he has trumped that effort with an absolute rocket on Derby Day. And Tottenham find themselves behind against their old foes, Arsenal. He's been moved into the centre to have a run in the team. They've shifted Aubameyang wide to compensate for that, to give him a platform. And he is seizing that opportunity, Chris.
He is, absolutely. And he came in with such a good reputation, didn't he? And has never really found his feet at Arsenal, but he's always had a rocket of a right foot. He always strikes a beautiful ball, and he won't hit a better one in his career than he just hit there.
When you look at the record of Aubameyang and Lacazette, when they start together in the Premier League, they've got 38 goals between them in 38 Premier League starts together. And that record has just been enhanced by a laser-guided missile from Lacazette, the former Lyon striker. So that gives Spurs something to think about. Here is Kolasinac turning away from Harry Kane, and that's loose, and an opportunity for Son, who runs into the area, chips it over the goalkeeper, and that's 1-1. It is a gift, and it is one that Heung-min Son has gleefully accepted. Given the ball a loose pass, and he raced into the area. Beautiful finish, and it's 1-1.
Yeah, it's calamitous defending from Arsenal. It really is. Sead Kolasinac tries to pass it back to David Luiz. His pass is completely off the mark. Heung-min Son is quick onto it, takes a touch past Luiz, rounds Hugo Lloris. Hugo Lloris throws himself to his right hand side, and Heung-min Son has the composure just to dink it over him. It's an absolutely beautiful deft finish from past Emi Martinez. It really is. Beautiful finish from Heung-min Son, but Arsenal, the architects of their own downfall once again.
There's a little extra touch that may or may not have been accidental, but it ended up really helping Son because it drew Martinez out, and he's so very good at that, Son, just lifting the ball beyond the keeper. He's now in double figures in the Premier League for this season, and that's his first Premier League strike since February. and he's such an important player for this Tottenham team. And Chris, how important was it that they responded as quickly as they did?
I think it's absolutely crucial. It was always going to be a big test if Arsenal took the lead, and you felt that the longer it went with Arsenal holding the lead, the more the confidence would drain from this Spurs team. And the fact that they've got back level so quickly, and certainly in the manner that they have, is going to give them huge confidence now to kick on in this game.
1-1 here on Premier League Live. Remember, you can get in touch with us on our Twitter feed at TalkSport Live. That's what Okoro Ikenna has done. He says Arsenal have this one. The stats are going for them. Randall Smith rolling through an overcast Columbus in Ohio on his way to Hershey, cheering the Gunners. Ball flicked on by Kane towards Sissoko. That's banged away, though, by the Arsenal rear guards. Jose Mourinho and Mikel Arteta getting their first taste of this derby as managers. It's the first time we've had two North London derby rookies go head-to-head on the sideline since 1986, when David Pleat took on George Graham in a goalless draw. Well, we haven't had a goalless draw today. Scoreboard disturbed twice already, and it might be again here. Here's Lo Celso with a storming run through midfield. Aurier's cross to the far post, only half cleared. It might come for Sissoko, and Arsenal able to clear right at the end. And having looked fairly serene and fairly comfortable leading up to Lacazette's goal, suddenly Arsenal look very nervous indeed. Here is Pepe, though, down the inside right channel. Works it to Xhaka, right edge of the penalty area here for Arsenal. Low ball into Lacazette. First touch inside the area. Plays it back to Pepe, but he's put a little bit too much on that, and Pepe did well to keep it in, but now Xhaka's under pressure.
Momentum of the attack's just been lost there for Arsenal.
Here is Ceballos, though, midway inside the Spurs half, and he plays an angled ball out to the right touchline for Xhaka, and that ball from Xhaka towards Pepe is just too strong, and that's gone all the way out for a goal kick to Spurs. No big surprise that we haven't had a goalless draw. There's only been one goalless stalemate in the last 42 Premier League meetings between these teams. You have to go all the way back to a game at White Hart Lane in February 2009, and neither defence, Chris, looks particularly solid so far.
Absolutely not, no. Every time either side attacks, you feel there could be a goal. Certainly Spurs, the distance that Giovanni Lo Celso was allowed to travel with the ball there would be a huge worry if I was Mikel Arteta. Travelled fully 30 yards without anyone closing him down at all. I mean, really poor. There's huge spaces for Spurs to take advantage of.
Arsenal were chasing a third straight clean sheet on the road. They've won their last two Premier League away games at Southampton and Wolves by 2-0. Haven't managed 3 clean sheets in a row in Premier League away games since 2013, which tells you a lot about this Arsenal team in recent years. They haven't won a Premier League away game against the so-called Big Six side since January 2015. Mikel Arteta was the club captain. Here is Aurier on the right-hand side for Spurs. Plays it infield to Lo Celso. In towards Harry Kane. And a great save by Martinez. The flag is up in any case. But it was a lovely run by Kane and another good save.
It's the right decision. I think Harry Kane does go just a little bit early, but it's so easy to get in behind the Arsenal defence. They're all over the place. Their line is in a zigzag. David Luiz and Mustafi put their arms up, but they have no idea whether Harry Kane's offside or not. They're not really playing it. And Spurs have looked dangerous every time they've looked to go in behind Arsenal's back four.
So the first drinks break. Just to remind you the situation in terms of where Arsenal and Spurs are. Arsenal 8th at the moment on 50 points. Spurs 10th on 49. You look at Leicester in the Champions League places on 59. So it's a big, big gap to there. They could still both sneak into the Europa League places. And Chris, European football, in whatever form it comes, is important for these two clubs.
I think it's hugely important. When you think that Spurs are in the Champions League final just over a year ago now, to not be in Europe would be unthinkable, to drop that far in one season. And then you look at Arsenal and you see what Mikel Arteta's trying to build, and he wants to be able to bring players into this football club, and to do that I think he's going to need Europa League football at worst.
Jose Mourinho certainly celebrated with vigour and gusto when Son clipped that equaliser in. He knows how big a game this is. He has said, like the fans, I want too much too soon maybe. I know we have to be realistic, control our emotions and understand that there's a process. We have an important nucleus of players. In 3 or 4 years' time, the base of the team will still be around. It is his first campaign as manager, having replaced Mauricio Pochettino earlier in the campaign. There is an argument to say this isn't his team, but one wonders how much money is available to make it in